So today I wanted to talk about how to afford your food storage. I have no idea how much money we would spend in a month if we were just buying it from the health food store and we were buying it retail. So I'm going to go through and show you all the tips and tricks that I have. First tip and trick is gleaning. If you're in an area where you have farmers, a lot of times after their big harvest, there will be food left on trees, there will be potatoes left on the ground, there will be grapes, apples, pears, depending on what part of the country you're in, there will be gleanings. I highly recommend making friends with your neighbors and your farmers. They have wisdom to share, but also they can help you in your food search. It used to be in biblical times that gleanings were left on the perimeter of farms, and they were left there specifically unharvested so that people who did not have farms, people who were poor, could come and glean and harvest from the edges of the fields so that they didn't starve.
That's why I gave you a little bag. Go along and see, there's a whole bunch right here. So instead of going on the outskirts, go right here. Right there. See? Just don't get the broken ones. Okay, so this is how you do it without damaging them.
And there is a full basket.
Yep, there's a whole
In
basket.
our area, Craigslist is a great way to glean. And it's not just vegetables and fruit. A lot of times people will buy ducks and chicks and rabbits in spring, and then they will decide as the animal gets older that they are not interested in having that animal anymore.
Hey guys, so I wanted to explain to you how it is that I fill the freezer for free from Craigslist. We don't do this with people's pets where they ask us not to butcher the animal. We only do this with generally juvenile animals where people started breeding, they had more production than they thought they were going to, or they had purchased animals thinking they wanted to get into farming and then they decided they didn't want to. So we got somewhere in the neighborhood of 45 roosters here, which means that I'm going to put them where I have the most problems with insects, with specifically grasshoppers, and I'm not going to put any hens in with these roosters. When they have something to fight over, that's when they fight. If I don't have hens back there, there's nothing to fight over, they'll just eat, they'll be fine, and we're going to be butchering them over the next few weeks anyway, and so there won't be a problem.
Either the animal became inconvenient or they were assuming they'd be able to butcher the animal and put it in their freezer, and then they decided they just couldn't go through with it, and so they want to give the animal away.
Well, here's our supply of manure for the next little bit.
It's going to be a lot of
A lot of manure.
manure.
And I'm grateful we have pretty good garden beds for this.
And there's 17 rabbits we just got.
17.
So we have 20 rabbits now.
Yep.
A lot of the food in our freezers come from Craigslist. And we always let them know. We say we're a farm. We bring them to our farm. If they don't fit into our breeding program, we butcher them. And they have to say that that's okay before we take their animals. But that's a really good source is Craigslist. A lot of times little granny ladies will advertise that they have extra apples on their apple tree, and would somebody please come get them? You can turn those into applesauce.
So we forgot our ladders.
Hi! You lucky face. Wow! We are picking apples, and so this.
Okay, once you have a bowl of clean washed apples, you're going to cut them in half because it allows the steam to get through the skin faster, so it cuts down your amount of time. You could just put them in whole and it would work, but having ruptured that skin makes it steam much, much faster.
The apples, we're making applesauce. Now I'm cutting apples. I banged. Now let me show you how smooth I got. See how smooth?
When you're doing applesauce or fruit leather or something else that requires mashed apples, you don't need any special equipment. All you need is a big pot with a couple inches of water in the bottom, and then you pack the apples in once they're clean into your pot, and then you steam them. I have this in the bottom to keep the apples on the bottom from burning.
That if you have an extension agency like a 4-H extension or a county extension, a lot of times they'll have classes on how to pressure can or how to hot bath can or how to dehydrate. And I think they used to have a loaner equipment, meaning that you could they would loan out or rent out the equipment so that you could use it at your home and then take it back to them if you couldn't afford the pressure canner yourself. John just went to an estate sale and bought me another pressure canner for $40. It needed a new gauge, but that was it. And it was a very nice pressure canner. So there are ways and means. You just have to keep your eyes and your ears open to find them.
See this bucket?
In our area, our farmer actually has a specific plot that a local group of church girls plant to potatoes. And then in September, he gets the word out to the whole community. They go out, they use their equipment to dig the potatoes, and then the whole community comes in and picks all the potatoes and takes them home. And I think it's about 5 acres out of his 500 acres that he plants, and it's enough to feed the whole community. So look for that kind of thing. Listen at church groups. A lot of times people, farmers that have excess will go to church groups to find out if anybody has a need. On that note, if you do need to be on food stamps and if you are on some kind of government welfare system, there are ways to build your food storage up while you're on that system. I have friends who, for a short period of time, needed to be on that system, and what they did is they filled their freezer with non-perishable items. They filled their shelves with non-perishable items. And instead of using that money to buy Doritos or fruit juice or white bread, what they were buying was this kind of thing. 2-pound packages of beans, or my favorite, tomato paste. Tomato paste, you can use it to make tomato soup, enchilada sauce, salsa, what's the other one? Spaghetti sauce, pizza sauce, that kind of thing. Tomato paste is very concentrated, so all you do is add water and spices and you have a completely different product. So if you are on food stamps, use it. Don't buy snack food. Don't buy pop. Buy tomato paste. You can get a year's worth of food. If I had the budget that comes from having a family of 4 that was on food stamps, I would cram pack my pantry full of dry goods.
Charging of your spice station in Winco. You can get a bulk and it's a lot cheaper. This is all the bulk dry goods. They even have, yeah, it's wonderful. They even have gluten-free things like the almond flour and the tapioca flour, but they do have them right next to the whole wheat flour and the bread flour, which means there is going to be some cross-contamination because every time somebody gets something, it's going to spill. So not a huge fan of that part of it.
My favorite source for dry goods is Winco, which is kind of a local thing for us. And they sell full-on bulk goods, and you can order from them, and they have an actual list of things that you can order in. But Azure Standard is one where you can get organic, and they deliver it to somebody's garage local to you, and you go pick it up. One issue that I find is that when we buy bulk goods, what I like to do is have Ziploc bags. If I have a 50-pound bag of beans, I like to put it in Ziploc bags. Now this is a conventional bag, but imagine it's a Ziploc bag. I will put beans in the Ziploc bag, close it, put it in the bucket. And that way when it's time to use it, all I do is pull one baggie out instead of opening it and exposing all the beans to insects or moisture or kids spilling them. When children spill dry goods, it does attract critters, it attracts mice, and it can be a problem. But I want my kids to know how to cook with dry goods. So I will have a big bucket And I'll have packages like this in the bucket that are easy to pull out for a month worth of use. A great place to get buckets is at bakeries. A lot of times they will sell them for $1 a piece. They're small enough that a woman can lift them, a child can lift them, so I like them a lot better than a 5-gallon bucket because I can lift it up and move it and stack it as I need to. All you have to do is wash them out with soap, dry them thoroughly, and then put your dry goods in them. A lot of times in your area there will be a food bank that is trying to help people get a balanced diet. And we've been to them a few times because we found out that they had more boxes than people were able to use, and we had a pig at the time. And so rather, we would kind of go in and eyeball things, see were they going to have boxes left over, the boxes were going to go to waste, and if there were boxes that were going to go to waste, we'd go in and we'd ask them, can we have these for the pigs? And we would take them home. We couldn't eat them ourselves because of the nature of the food in them, but we could feed it to the pigs. And a lot of times grocery stores will have leftovers. Natural grocers, they have a basket that they set next to their produce that they discount food at, and a lot of times you can take that food and you can dehydrate it, or you can add it into a soup if it's a little softer than what you want to eat fresh. But watch for those opportunities to get free or almost free food. Don't let those go by. Again, it's a skill-based strategy. Having the skill to be able to take something that isn't perfect and turn it into abundance is important. Now, I have shopped Amazon before for some of my food stores. This is one example. This is chia seeds, and this was actually a pretty good price. I think it was $6 for this, and the container's nice, and I will use it over again. However, with the current state of affairs and the struggle that small businesses are having, I have boycotted Amazon. I feel like some of their business practices are weakening our economy rather than strengthening it, and so I no longer purchase from Amazon. But on top of that, a lot of times with Amazon, if you have bulk goods, you also pay shipping, and so it's much less expensive just to get it from Azure Standard, or if you have even a Costco. A lot of times Costco will have semi-bulk types of dry goods that you can buy at a price that's pretty close to what you can get if you get a 50-pound bag. So make sure to do your price comparisons. So I'm just going to tell you things that I like to have on hand that are not expensive. Baking soda, baking powder, some kind of flour, plenty of salt. For our family, we use salt to cure meat as well. It's very important for us. If you have an abundance of meat that suddenly needs to be processed, salt is a godsend because you can pack it in salt, you can dehydrate it, you can pressure can it, you can do all sorts of things as long as you have salt. Some kind of oil. I do keep legumes on hand. We don't eat a lot of them. If you looked at our food storage, you would think that we don't have enough because we don't have a lot of dry goods. But the problem with not personalizing your food storage is that if you're storing things you can't eat, how do they benefit you? We can't eat a lot of dry goods. We don't digest them well. What we eat in our family is meat and vegetables and fresh fruit. And a very limited amount of what we can eat can even be canned. So that's why a lot of my food storage is seeds instead of being, and the things that I do store that are like legumes are sproutable. I can also put them in my garden. Now the things that we do store that are specialized would be our flours, and that would be almond flour, coconut flour, tapioca flour, and to some degree some bean flours, but we don't digest those as well, so not as much as of that. What we'll do is we will buy these at the store that is the least expensive to us in our area, and then we will put them in our outdoor cold storage or in our basement cold storage. And we don't store a lot of this on hand at a time, maybe 6 weeks, because it does go rancid. These are comfort foods. These are not survival foods. For us, we could live just fine without being able to make waffles or bread. We would survive. What we do have a lot in storage is meat and frozen vegetables and frozen fruit. And then we have our animals that provide food for us as well. So I guess what I'm saying is make sure that you understand the needs of your family as far as food goes. Figure out how much you're actually spending in a month on food and see if you can't allocate some of your convenience and snacky foods, eliminate those, see if you can't start making some of them at home and start buying your bulk goods that would allow you to still be eating well as a family, but start to rotate in these bulk foods. And what it takes is a little bit more time, not a lot more time, especially if you have an Instant Pot or a pressure cooker. Those kind of things that you can program allow you to take bulk foods and still have dinner at night ready to go.
Hi guys, so I am going to today teach you how to make oatmeal. The ingredients include a cup of milk, a cup of oatmeal, and honey. Oh, we keep the oatmeal in the bucket.
So do we store a lot of it?
Yeah,
And where do we get the milk?
for my goats. This I'll probably just freeze since we can't put too much, since it's already overfilling with milk. So that would be how you make oatmeal. It's very tasty because I've had it before. We buy these jams at our grocery store and they cost $1 for a pound if we get them in bulk. Now I'm gonna explain to you how to peel and fix up a yam. First, you take your fork. I'm gonna look at it for a second because I don't want to get burned by our hot stove. I already did that once. And take off the ends. Some of it will come off, but if you want, you can take off some of it. If you don't, then try getting it off. Then you start smushing it with your fork till it's all smooth. And you take some butter, smear it. Now, this came out of our fridge, that's why it's not melting, but it might in front of the stove. Take a little salt. Pinch. There it is.
So this is one of my most budget-friendly meals. Anything that I use that is in bulk, generally something like this, we're spending under $1 a meal because, again, we buy things in bulk, we buy them in 20-pound bags. So this meal is split pea soup. So I have my split peas. Then also in bulk, we have our dehydrated carrots and our dehydrated onions. We also in our storage have salt and boxes of butter. Everything that you're seeing me cook here is in our storage, and it's how we're able to shop so effectively. For us, we can go weeks and weeks on end without going into the grocery store. If we do go in and get groceries, we spend about $30 a week, and yet a lot of that is still going into storage and we're just replenishing stuff. Our food storage is really what we live on. I have filled my pot with water. It's about 3/4 full of cold water. And I know this looks really, really high tech. I'm going to pour in peas until I feel like they would probably thicken to the point of making soup. So that was about 2 cups there that I just put in. And then I take a handful of dehydrated carrots and I put them in. And then I take a handful of dehydrated onions and I put them in. Now, we only buy butter at Christmas time. Between Thanksgiving and Christmas time, we can get it for just under $2 a pound. And so we never buy butter the rest of the year, but we go in and buy cases of it at that time so that instead of paying $4 and $5 a pound for butter, we're just paying $2. Since this is a smaller pot of food, I will only use half a cube. This is the fat that we're putting in it. I don't always put meat in our split pea soup, and so the butter I feel adds a little bit of flavor and more calories to the food because this is not a high calorie meal. Then I put salt in. So I put that on our wood burning stove. This wood burning stove heats our home, so it does dual purpose for us. For us, being able to cook on the wood burning stove is huge because we only have electrical heat in our home. Otherwise, this stove heats our whole house and it cooks our meals as well. However, because this meal can take 4 to 6 hours to cook thoroughly, I would suggest that if you don't have a wood burning stove, that you use your crock pot. It works really well in the crock pot. Once it starts to thicken, make sure to stir the bottom really well. I hope you enjoyed this meal collaboration. Tomorrow, it will be the Fundamental Home. Amanda over there will be doing her take on it, and she's the one that wrote the initial blog talking about how she feeds her family, and I will put her link below. And then watch during the rest of the week as I put up other links to other people. It's going to be so exciting. So lots of really, really amazing frugal people that you get to see, and go check all that out, and we hope you like this. Make sure to like the video and subscribe.